It's more space weather! Looking at a bunch of filaments here on the northwestern limb of the sun. Some rather interesting activity occurring down there. It is associated with the remnants of sunspot 2723, which still has some activity, but is no longer a sunspot. Also some big filament activity going on the southeastern limb of the sun. Massive coronal hole facing the Earth right now, as you can see right here. The wind stream from that is not expected for about 2 or 3 days. The coronal hole wind stream from the previous coronal hole came in extremely weak, and we are now currently magnetically connected to the Earth-facing coronal hole. Here's your magnetic lines. That coronal hole is gigantic, by the way. And we're expecting a very strong wind stream from that when it gets here on October 7th or October 8th. Here we are on 171 angstroms. Again, you can see the coronal hole in this view, which is not always the case. A little bit of an active region rising right there, but still not a sunspot, folks. Solar activity extremely low. Now, we've actually gotten into an earthquake drought. The number of earthquakes, especially major ones, has actually dropped off over the past 12 hours. So let's take a look at Global Incident Watch. globalincidentmap.com, rather. So, in the last 8 hours, we do have a 4.6 in Italy. We've got a 4.0 in Iran. 4.6 in Japan. And the most important one for Americans is this one right here. Part of the slow slip Cascadia fault area. A 4.3 off the coast of Oregon is significant for California in that it raises the likelihood of a Southern California quake. Let's move along to spaceweathernews.com. Actually, let's take a look at the real-time solar wind. So, all right, the BTBZ is actually starting to jump around more. It was convergent, and now it's looking a little more divergent. The phi angle, it's at 234 right now. That's associated with that coronal hole magnetic field. Solar wind density 5.56. Protons per cubic centimeter, that is. Solar wind very low at 370 kilometers per second. If we look at the longer chain data, spaceweathernews.com, you can see almost no X-ray fluxing. And the coronal hole wind stream that we got was extremely weak. You can see it right here. That little rise in speed, a little rise in heat are all that happened. So the next thing on the burner again is the wind stream from the Earth-facing coronal hole. Magnetometer is looking a little anomalous. So we have this kind of a plateau here. And this is about to drop back down. KP index is at 1, which is a fairly high cosmic ray flux scenario. The electron flux did drop off as predicted. And now we should be back in more of a normal range until that coronal hole wind stream arrives in a couple of days. The F2 ionosphere layer is fairly charged, but not particularly anomalous. and the auroras are very weak. Here we are back at 171 angstroms. By the way, you can actually see a coronal mass ejection here. Take a look. It's right in this area. It's going to come out like this. See that? That was a good one. Not facing the Earth, though. So, solar activity very low. Earthquake risk increased for Southern California. Not a whole lot to report on. Thanks for watching. More videos to come. There's that coronal hole looking right down the barrel. Thanks again, subscribers. Please don't forget to like and share the video. More content daily.